Okay, let's get going then. It's been quite a while since we had the most recent Unimatrix governance call, and I think one of the things we discussed at that point was how to technically proceed. I think we ended up in a little bit of a limbo to align ourselves with the technical board, etc. And coming up to this meeting, we received a few emails, but we also have some points from previous meeting to look at. And one of them is it's suggested that we do some improvement on the website, or actually make it into a website more than just the placeholder it is now. One question that we need to sort of agree upon or discuss is how, there's Hugo, hello Hugo, is to discuss how this should be done, because we have up to now all the work that was put into that website was done by Access and actually donated to the project. And that also means that we don't have any funds collected from the members. We have the website as it is. So what we need to discuss and get all the GB members' opinion on is that how do we go about to make this happen?
It's worth mentioning that it's a WordPress site today. So we have a simple hosting and a WordPress. So we have a login to that WordPress site that anybody get that wants to have a login. I could supply a login to the WordPress site, of course, but that's how it's set up today.
Yeah, and also when Will and I discussed this, we do have a staging environment. So whoever volunteers to take charge of that website update, once it's agreed on what we should update and how it should look like, we can put it up, and then we can all view it before we approve and publish it live. So the objective here is to actually form a little website working group in this meeting. So do we have anyone volunteering for this?
So should we in reality, I mean, just like ONVIF has the communications committee, consider having that? So it's, website, you may eventually have press releases coming up, a little bit of communication sort of, and stuff like that. So would this be a time to maybe consider, getting into a structure like that? Point one, point two, eventually and inevitably it'll be a discussion around funding. So you mentioned that right now we don't really collect any funds. So being completely open source and open-minded, how do we go about that? I mean, I'm not concerned about the WordPress hosting. I mean, that's ridiculously low cost. But maybe we should think a couple of steps ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jens. But the issue, the problem, the reality is, if you commission a web agency to do the smallest change to website, it's going to be a little bit costly.
It's like ONVIF.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily talking about outsourcing, that, because I think everybody, a WordPress is extremely easy to work in. So that's not my worry. That we need to have that, completely developed outside. So I'm just thinking, ahead of time that, in terms of messaging, creating that, getting it out right now. And as we discussed the last time, most of the changes required is really more or less of a technical nature.
On what? You disagree?
Technical nature, so
yeah.
Documentation and samples and whatnot. So right now it's a very hands-on task, but I'm just thinking a little bit ahead. When we really want to blast out that when we have a good message and want to if you look at the OSSA, which I think you can compare in the sense that it's a relatively new foundation, They have all this streamlined, as does OnVIF. So I'm not so much worried about the task right at hand. That's more of a practical nature, but maybe we need to think ahead.
So is there really a difference to say that for this purpose, we assign a website working group? Because we also have the next task, which we also communicate, and that is to start or create some activity about attracting other companies, contributors to the project, which Jens is a communication task.
So we have the same group, a communication board. Is that something we could create? Or what should we call it?
We can create what we want as long as we agree.
Question: if we just create the communication board, and the first task is then a website, and the second task is attracting new members.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I mean, it's a staged approach in any case.
Yeah. So for the next GB call, we need some participants for that group. So there are mail-in suggestions to people that would participate. So we start up a group.
So does this mean that we have a consensus here that we should look at the alternative to communication board and or committee? I think is the equivalent here in our word. Okay. No one protesting?
No, but I'm happy to sign up to that. I know a little bit of WordPress, but obviously I would need technical input.
It's always a book to buy, as you know.
Yeah, the 101 for dummies, right?
Yeah, 101 WordPress for dummies.
No. So I know WordPress. I've created several websites in WordPress, so that's not really the issue. I mean, that's pretty straightforward.
So you propose yourself to be the head of the communication board?
Well, member head, not necessarily to put a title on, but I'm throwing myself into the game of, working on the website.
So I do this the Scandinavian way. I write, Jens will take the lead.
No, that's the Swedish interpretation, I guess. Yeah. So
it's a soft commitment.
Yeah. So, but I need the technical experts in providing the input.
Yes.
So I just arrange for you to get a login, Jens, and when we are on the way.
Yeah.
On that topic, we have received a note from Linux Foundation that we need to add Copyright Linux Foundation at the bottom of the pages, which we didn't from the beginning. Which also indicates that they didn't look that close when they received it, I guess. Yeah. So that's they want to do that to maintain the copyright to it as they own the project. Okay, so the task then for that communication board would be the website and the recruitment.
Yeah. So in that sense, Willie, I'll set up a meeting where we need to agree on what to sort of develop with, right? And I know from the last meeting you had some pretty good ideas on and it was discussed what to expand with. But just to figure out a process for this and do we need to have an approval process from the GB and stuff like that. So yeah.
Can we put the source on GitLab for the website? Then anybody can contribute, and there should be a process for accepting contribution.
Yeah, today it's a WordPress site, so in that case we need to transfer it to
Yeah, I mean the source, and then when we agree on a change, then it's transferred to the actual site. So I mean the source for
I know, I think on GitLab they have such a model where you could actually host the pages on the Git. I'm not sure that's one idea to transfer the site, but we have to look into the features if that is supported, because today it's on a hosting provider and a WordPress, and that would be a bit cumbersome to have the source on a Git and then transfer it to them. But we could look at the technical stuff and if we could make a change.
But you say it's a possible solution to host it on GitLab in some
I don't know
shape or
if
form.
it's GitHub or GitLab, but one of those have a feature where you could actually host the pages in the Git and do a spreading for process. You could make a commit and then you have to approve it. Or you make a pull request and then you can approve that pull request and then it's live, more or less. But that's, I guess, something for that group to look at.
Mm-hmm.
So who else would want to work with me on this?
I think for next slide we need to discuss who will, but I guess we will have someone working with you, Jens. But I think we should discuss that internally at Axis, how we should proceed, but someone will.
Okay, so take your time doing that, and then reach out to me and let me know. So I'll set up meeting and get the start discussed.
Yes, and others could also have time to think about this and propose if they want to join, like iPro and Genetech,
Yeah.
and Microsoft.
From iPro, we'd like to join the.
So please send a name to Jens, who will be participating in the new group.
We will. Yes, we will discuss the in charge of. Yep, I will.
Okay.
I've just posted my email address that you can provide for input.
Yep.
So I also, in the notes here, I added the task for that communications board would also be to develop some recruitment content, because both those tasks are outgoing. Okay. Great, we have a decision.
Yep.
And then we go over to a number of fairly technical nature. I think this, I haven't really circulated this yet because of time constraint, but there were discussions about certain topics that iPro wanted to bring up during this meeting, and I had some feedback which I discussed with Frederick and Willie about this, that they are perhaps of a technical nature. Let me just fix this here and I will share it in the chat. I will post those points in the chat here now. We can go through them one by one. So the first one is to have a consensus about building the component of Unimatrix. The other one is the Unimatrix reference implementation, documentation and creation. The Unimatrix introduction for product in each company, tool development, free distribution of pre-trained models and sample programs, and then also some way of going forward with regular meetings and hackathons. In my discussions with Willie, I sort of deferred many of these to the technical board to really come up with some proposals and or clarifications. There is yet one, and that is the free distribution of pre-trained models. I think in the beginning we did not include that in the scope. So I guess if we go for that time for that, so we need to have an agreement of all companies in the governance board that we need a change of scope. So what's your take on this, William, Frederick? We discussed it a bit previously.
I mean, we have done a few examples so far. That's on the GitLab. But it's just examples. So if this is some kind of models that are supposed to be, production ready, or that is like a baseline, or develop those kind of, models similar to basically what Panorama is trying to do, I think. That's, I would say, is a change of scope, because providing production quality models for different hardwares, it's a huge effort. I mean, Amazon spent loads and loads of money on that. So I think so far we have said that, it's each company that does their own models and applications, and so the things that are on the site now is only examples that are pretty basic, stuff that is available already. Because I interpret this as something similar to what AWS Panorama is trying to do. And that would be, a major change of scope, I would say. I don't know what you other guys think, or what from iPro side. What is your intention of that?
So actually, we didn't think the scope change. So, but we'd like to clarify it only. So that is our point. So yeah, sorry that we didn't think the scope change. So Nishara-san.
Oh, okay.
Additional.
iPro thinks the attracting AI application developer in the integrator is very important for Unimatrix because the contents are created by them, and therefore when we attract such a company, so maybe for example, free pre-trained model and sample programs and so on are needed for the AI application vendors. So if we don't do that, so maybe AI application developers are not interested in Unimatrix activity. Therefore, so iPro thinks we should prepare such a content for the AI application vendors.
But the thing, these models are optimized and pruned and so on for specific hardware. So in Unimatrix, if we support multiple different hardwares, I mean, from the present companies, we already have maybe 3-4 different hardwares. So then these models need to be optimized and pruned and so on for all these, and that's, you know, that's a huge effort, I would say. And that's, I mean, Amazon is investing a ton of money on this, and I think if we want to do the same thing, we need to have a huge budget, and it's I think it's in my point of view out of scope right now, but this kind of setup we have. So for me, I think providing these examples and so on for maybe a few different hardwares is within scope. Otherwise, I would say it's a big change of scope.
Yeah, this is Milan here from Microsoft. I agree with Frederick that this is a huge effort. I mean, we've been looking at this, and it's a lot of work. And Unimatrix as a body, I don't think is set up for that. Hello, were you able to hear me?
Yeah, okay. I'm taking notes.
Yeah. Just making sure.
Yep.
Maybe we should get clear, like, what is the goal Unimatrix as a body is trying to achieve via this? Maybe reiterate the goal if necessary, and then we can come to a conclusion on this appropriately.
But I think you explained, Makoto-san, that you believe, iPro believes that this is needed to attract developers.
So I think so. Maybe the goal of Unimatrix is to show the AI application among the camera vendors and the integrators in common. And so if we will create such a world in Unimatrix, so the AI application vendors is very important role. And therefore, so even though we create the Unimatrix framework only for the hardware, so maybe AI application vendors and the integrators may not be acceptable for the Unimatrix framework. Therefore, so it's important to provide the AI application vendors the architecture to create AI application.
So I think that goal is achievable without building production models for every hardware. you could take an open source model as it exists and optimize it for a couple of hardware and showcase that.
Yeah, well, we could even have back and forth, like Ewan explained in members meeting, like backends for example, AWS, and we can use their models as well. But then it will run on certain hardware. Because they only support, because they know how difficult it is, so they only support a couple of hardwares.
Well, so just to be clear, we are talking about only models running on the client side, right? The hardware. There's no service component here. So where is AWS coming into picture?
Just using the models that they have.
Yeah, in that case, shouldn't we just use models from the open source community? Like, given how Unimatrix is set up versus.
Yeah, I would prefer that. I would. But the thing is, if you want this, like, but it seems like iPro now is more looking at the same way that Panorama is laid out, that the developers doesn't have to do a lot with the training themselves, so they basically only do the application on top. And that's not really what we thought from the beginning of this project, that it's up to the AI developers to do the training and so on with their models.
Didn't we discuss this with Hick extensively in the beginning, first exploring if this was possible or not? We concluded that it was very difficult at that time to do that.
We discussed having a common format, I think. Like having one format and then that can run on all hardwares, basically. But I think the conclusion there was, no, it's not possible today because they are so different, the hardware.
It's more long-term goal, maybe, but in the beginning, now when it's so much difference, it's very difficult. That's one of the reasons we wanted to have the hardware manufacturers on board, or technology providers, to maybe accomplish that in the future.
Yeah, I think we are targeting developers that can do the training and so on themselves. Not like, I think Panorama is targeting a higher level developer that doesn't really know that much about AI and just use a pre-trained model and make an application.
But would it be okay for iPro in this case that we park this somehow, and maybe we see where we are when we start to do the outreach activities? If we all agree this is a very, very, I should say, resource consuming activity, because we have to guarantee workability, portability, and a lot of things which we might see as a challenge, that we defer this to decide on at a later stage and see what the yield will be from the other recruitment activities we can get going.
It's parked for technological reasons, I would say, but we don't think it's feasible at this point in time to accomplish this, and that's why we park it, not because we think it's a bad idea. We think it's a good idea, but we don't think it's feasible.
Okay.
For feedback.
Hi guys, I have one question. Inside of Unimatrix, do we have any long-term planning to do our own app management or license mechanism thing for AI developers, especially for individual or small size AI companies? For the fact that they don't have their own mechanism to manage their app, manage their license. So it's a little bit like a bullshit thing. So do we have any long-term planning on that direction, or it's out of topic inside of the Unimatrix?
We discussed this at the latest member meeting about including orchestration part. From Axis side, we are definitely interested in that, including license generations and so on.
And actually, the next TB call, we would like to discuss a proposal, or we would like to discuss Ansible if that could suit our needs in Unimatrix. And that's next Monday, the same time as today.
Okay.
So after some research from Axis, we concluded internally that Ansible would be a good fit for the requirements that we have. Doesn't take too much system resources, so it's lightweight. So it had quite some good features that would suit us, but we will have one expert from Axis that is available for that discussion next Monday.
Because I completely agree on that, and I was actually just having the same thoughts. We are very much discussing obviously the technical platform, and that's great. But we are up against OSSA. In all honesty, we're trying to achieve the same, so we're fighting for the resources of the smaller developing companies that has a great AI technology but don't have the reach. So I see that as a major thing. So, but Willie, you said that's on the topic for next week.
Yeah,
I think he said, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And Fredrik, you would put this on the agenda now when you're back from vacation. Start creating the agenda for that.
Yeah.
But yes, we will definitely be on that agenda.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. For the remaining points, I would like to, as I said earlier, if we agree that we get this discussed in the technical board, because I think there is a lot of technical underlying arguments on the consensus of building the component, the reference implementation, the possibility for the member companies to produce products with this. The one that could be something we discuss here, there is the one for wasn't something about then when you get new companies, tool development. Or maybe not. This point, the Unimatrix introduction for products in each company. What is behind that? I respond to that.
So of course, so Unimatrix standard is defined. After that, so each camera vendor, camera maker, and integrators introduce the Unimatrix, and so the progress and how will the companies proceed the introduction after that. The current status and the plan and schedule.
Okay, so if I understand you right, the question was that with the member companies should do some sort of disclosure on when they believe they have products ready for deployment with Unimatrix.
Yeah, of course. So Unimatrix should be introduced in common, and therefore, so such a schedule and plan should be shared each other.
Okay. Any response to that? Jens Adler, you represent another manufacturer.
Sorry. In fact, currently we cannot give you a confirmed schedule on product development, but we will try out from our side on this internal development. And by the way, when I ask that are we gonna do any official like a compatibility process to say this hardware from Hikvision or from Panasonic, it is fully approved or fully compatible with Unimatrix or something like that. So are we gonna do that, or it's just claimed by each individual manufacturer?
So in case of iPro, so we've already started investigating to introduce the RLAROT and the investigate the container orchestration, for example, K3S, and so of course, so we are still under investigating. Therefore, so we don't have a concrete schedule, but so we do proceed the investigation about the Unimatrix. Therefore, so of course, we need to define the Unimatrix and the introduction schedule is also important for the Unimatrix project activity.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if we compare with the work we do in OnBIF, we really don't discuss when we have products or when products will be available on the market with the respective profiles. We do meet in the hackathons sometimes to test out prototypes and stuff like this, but we don't keep any any sort of official list. If this is happening between other companies, I don't know. It's not an official activity, at least. So maybe this is more something to bring up during hackathons. Because I guess there's a lot of sort of maybe prototype testing and stuff will be like a pre-stage of this.
So I don't know the on-beef background, and so if so, we don't if we don't treat the schedule about interaction for each company, if it's work well, it's no problem, I think. So, however, so the so in the future, so our concern is how many companies will introduce for example, Lalot to the camera. So we don't understand. So we can expand the Unimatrix in each company or not. Actually, so iPro is investigating to introduce Lalot on the iPro's AI camera, and of course, Axis has already introduced Lalot in Axis AI camera, and but so how about other companies? So maybe so if so many camera vendors will not introduce the Lalot widely. So the effect to introduce Unimatrix is very small. It's our concern.
Maybe you're right. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation. Which comes first? For the rest of the questions that was forwarded, I would like to defer those to the technical board to discuss. So Frederick and Willie, any input on that?
Yeah, I think those are technical questions, except maybe for the last one, the planning of hackathons and the frequency of meetings and so on. Maybe we can discuss here.
I guess that hackathon will probably be part of the activity of the communications board.
And even for the hackathons is also a need within TB. If you are doing work in a certain technical area, you probably need to do hackathons.
Yeah.
But when it comes to meeting frequency, we had an intention to keep sort of roughly a month interval for the governance board. So do we still agree that this is okay, or should it be?
Per, did you say monthly or bi-monthly interval?
Did we? I can't recall actually. Did we say bi-monthly or monthly when we started?
No, it's monthly. But
I guess it was monthly. And we did intend to have that. We run into some activity issues when we had the last meeting before this. You said monthly, we keep that, and we just need to sort of be a little bit more active to contribute to agenda and bring questions up. But maybe now, Jens, when you have a new task, you will be eager to meet us more often.
Yeah, I'd happily cancel my summer vacation just to meet up.
Well,
No,
I didn't.
So well, it's partly canceled anyways. Yeah, I'm fine. Whatever we decide.
For the TV, I think monthly, it should be at least monthly.
but depending on activity, I guess.
Yeah, but now if there's a lot of balls in the air, I feel about what to include in orchestration and so on. So I think that probably we can have at least start monthly and then see if we need more, we increase.
But when you book the meetings in between, if you have a work that is progressing, for example, if you cooperate.
It's different. I mean, the TB is only the members meeting is probably the most important one because that's all should be all the people. So I don't know the frequency of those.
I was thinking of focus meetings like we have had for LAROD, for example. Depending on if you're working on orchestration, for example, maybe we need meetings bringing that work like working group meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another. It could be that we need to form more working groups if we include this.
Maybe we should discuss that in the TB if we need to form working groups. If, for example, we have both people working on LAROD and on Ansible, that those people working with issues could be having different working groups, for example, depending on who is involved.
So that does sound like a good topic for next week's TB meeting. As I recall, LAROD is just one part of the whole intended framework that was discussed initially. So there may be a very good need to get more involved and branch out.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Okay, so we then agree then that the other points we defer those to the technical board meeting, and you bring responses back.
Yeah, so I'll put this point in the agenda and then as a request from GB that we come back with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, take that to the notes as well. So the other point for TB also does is to development model for converters, IDE, etc. for AI applications. And I also took down that the need for hackathons frequency is really in the hands of the members board, the members meeting, to say when it's time to get together.
About that one, about the tool developments, it's something we haven't really discussed much either. It's a little bit out of scope, I would say, but I can see the need for it. I mean, to compete with OSS8, for example, they have like Android Studio, which is a slick environment, and we should provide similar thing for a good developer experience. So I want to focus on Visual Studio Code, which is as an open source, and you can do extensions and so on. So we can do Unimatrix extensions for building and applications and so on.
Yeah, and we have Microsoft on board, so that would be perfect. We can't use something else.
What was that?
Okay, I think we're through the list, and we have a few decisions taken here about the communications board. We have repeated the decision on the meeting frequency. I will send a name to Jens, and Axis will also discuss participation in the communications board. And then there are some comments about the discussion, and also clearly what points are reference to the TB meeting next week. Any other questions?
How about the questionnaire about the Unimatrix?
Of course, yes. Sorry, I forgot that. Sorry, good thing you brought it up. I proposed a questionnaire to be distributed, so we can, after the meeting's call, we can send that to all the governance board members, and then we can take a decision to send it out also to the members list. Do you have the link with you? You can share in the chat maybe already. You find it?
Can you see the screen?
Yeah, Nishihara-san, could you put the link to the message
Yes.
so that everyone can see clearly?
Rick? This questionnaire, right?
Can you just copy that web address, the URL, and put
URL
it into the chat? Put the URL in the chat.
Okay.
Yes, it works. Good.
Yeah.
So if we can take a look at that and then respond, so we can have that sent out to the members. Okay, people need to drop off for other meetings. I will make sure I distribute the notes here and also include the link here. So please visit that survey and respond to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.
I will also schedule the next meeting within a month.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Great. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.